It's just English. It's just English everywhere. Hello everyone! Welcome back to On the World Stage. If you're new here, my name is Marielle and I live in Japan. If you have watched my videos before, you may be wondering, where is she right now? I am in Japan right now. I am no longer in America, though I was there for 6 weeks recently. Thank you so much for watching my vlogs. It was so much fun to make those, and even more fun, of course, to reconnect with my family and friends. Honestly, I was having like a complete identity crisis. I'm American, I'm always going to be American. I grew up in America, but I have lived in Japan for 3 years and I have adapted well to many different aspects of Japanese culture. Because of the pandemic, I was staying in Japan for 3 years without ever going back home to visit. I kind of forgot a lot of things. So in this video, I'm going to share with you the different types of reverse culture shock I experienced as an American returning to America from Japan. Let's get started. I had taken a flight from Tokyo Haneda Airport. It was an American flight. Kind of the strangest thing happened. When we arrived, like when we were technically in an American airspace, an announcement came on saying that people could remove their masks. And then when we landed the plane, I looked around me and all the Americans, they just like ripped their mask off. Like they'd been waiting like the whole time to do it. They just ripped it up. And I still had mine. We wear a mask everywhere in Japan. It's just like a social thing. It would be weird not to wear it. I really felt like I'm arriving in a foreign country. There's really no experience like it. Also, my second week in America, my family and I went to Disney. So Disney's in Florida, we live in New York, we had to take a plane. The situation on the domestic flight was almost no one wearing a mask. In Disney, I had just been to Tokyo Disney, and in Japanese Disney at that time, masks were still like a mandate in the park, and there were a lot of different precautions for COVID. Then I went to the Florida Disney and I was like, nope, people hugging, greeting the princesses, they were not wearing masks. It was reverse culture shock. If you've been to America, you may know that Americans love small talk. Americans love talking to strangers. It's just part of American communication and culture. I definitely see myself as a friendly person. I make friends really easily in Japan, but it's like being thrown in with other Americans. I feel like, oh my gosh, they're so skilled. My parents are great at socializing. We went to get dinner. I had just gotten off the plane. I was like way too sleepy to like be in a nice restaurant, but they brought me to a nice restaurant. We're sitting there, I'm super tired, super jet lagged, and like we had already had the menu. I think we'd already ordered, and then the waiter just started coming to our table and I got scared.
Like, why is he coming?
I forgot that waiters just come like ask you,
oh, like, how's it going?
Like, can I get you anything?
How's the food? In Japan, first of all, you have to call them and get their attention to take your order. And then when you order, they go, they disappear, they bring you the food eventually, and they will give you the bill, like the little receipt with the food, and then just leave you alone. You'll never have small talk like with a waiter in Japan. I went to the mall with my grandma and my mom in the store, like I'm shopping for clothes, and the like sales clerk, my mom and grandma are like telling her about me and like I'm in Japan and like all the things I do. I just felt like everywhere we go, they're learning my life story. Then we went out to lunch. We went to pay the bill and my grandma like went to the register and the lady at the register was on her cell phone. She was just talking, like complaining about something on the phone.
Yeah, like my car, I need to get my car fixed, and you know, I've been like trying to get it fixed.
And my grandma was just like so patiently listening to her.
Yeah, I'm really hope you get that fixed.
That was so entertaining for me, truly. I live here in Japan in like a teeny tiny share house and a teeny tiny room. I went home like to my family's house and I just like thought I was in Cinderella's castle. It was the size of the cars. It was the size of the food. It was the portion sizes. Everything was big. And I always heard that. I always heard that when foreigners visit America, that like everything's big, everything's large. That's what they say. This is just like a bag of peanut butter M&Ms that says share size. Almost all of the candy and chips that you see will say something like this: family size, share size. Americans love like gathering and they love parties and they love like sharing food. In Japan, when you buy omiyage, everything's individually wrapped. So you can like give it to one person, eat a small amount. Love it. I went to the supermarket. My dad was cracking up because I was taking pictures of everything in the supermarket. It was just the normal supermarket I grew up going to. The supermarket I'm talking about is called Stop and Shop, and it's just typical like average American supermarket, but everything was so big. The produce was big. The milk cartons were big. The ice cream was big. In America, it's normal to buy a container of ice cream that is this big because you share it with your family and you will probably like eat a lot of it or you'll have it at a party. In Japan, you can only buy individual ice creams. I'm just eating these M&Ms now. Sometimes people like move from their country to another country and they look for things in the new country that they used to eat in their native country. But for me, Japanese food has always been my favorite food, and since coming to Japan, I've totally like adjusted my diet to Japanese culture. My meals during the week usually consist of miso soup, rice, some kind of protein, some kind of vegetable, pickles. I also eat a lot of raw fish. I don't eat a lot of like heavy, greasy food. Japanese people always are shocked when they ask me if I like hamburgers, and I say that I never eat hamburgers. I never eat steak, I never eat hamburgers. I don't eat like the typical American things because for me it's all a little too heavy. My body could not get used to American food. My body couldn't get used to like the portion size, the bread, just like the amount of dairy, just the sweetness. I couldn't believe that I used to eat American food all the time. When I went out to eat, I felt like there were a lot of like added sugars and added sauces, and everything was too big, so like we had to take it home. In Japan, like you never take the food home. It's always the perfect portion size for you to finish there. So I went to places in the US and like, for example, if there are a bunch of French fries on the plate and I'm not hungry, I don't really want to take that home. So if I had leftovers, sometimes I felt like I didn't have time to eat it again. It felt like an inconvenience, honestly. Also, my first day I returned to the US, my mom got me some baked goods that I used to like, and I went to eat one of them and I bit into this and I felt like I was eating just straight sugar. It was so sweet. I'm used to the sweetness level here. Japanese sweets are not very sweet. At one point, I went to New York City and my friend brought me to a Japanese supermarket and I bought a container of miso. I felt like I needed to make miso soup. I eat it every day in Japan, so I just felt like I wanted to make it, and I made miso soup for my parents. If you're coming from Japan, going back to a Western country, be prepared for your body to be shocked. Americans love to drive. Americans love their cars. And if you live in suburban America, like where I'm from, you need to be able to drive, or it is a huge inconvenience. You just have to know how to drive.
Or you can't get anywhere.
Public transportation systems in suburban America are almost non-existent. Usually if you don't know how to drive, you know someone who does who will drive you. To be honest, the lack of an accessible train system that expands outside of New York City was really inconvenient to me. In Japan, you can go almost anywhere by rail. I have never needed a car while living in Japan. You can go across the whole country in a matter of hours in Japan. Another thing is the cost of the transportation. So the train one way to New York City was $12 US dollars. I then rode the train for an hour to New York City, and then there, if I wanted to take the subway, I had to pay for a Metro card. So I just ended up walking. I didn't want to take the subway. Like, Tokyo's really convenient. Japan's really convenient. I had so much reverse culture shock just about socializing in groups. I didn't realize how much in Japan I just socialize with one friend. I live in a share house with Japanese people in Japan, and everyone's very quiet. To be in my house, to like hear sounds, to hear talking, to have people wanting to talk to me, for like many things to be happening at the same time, to have my dog walking around. This was a lot to process. In America, I live near the beach. I really miss it. And there were a few times that I just woke up in the morning and I felt like,
okay, like self-care.
I just kind of need this me time. Being in Japan all this time, kind of alone, away from my family, craving seeing them, craving that love and social interaction. I didn't expect that I would go home and just want to be alone, but sometimes I did. Just kept being mad at myself, like, why can't I socialize comfortably? Why can't I be around my family and friends, like and feel just 100% comfortable being around other Americans? Coming back here and doing a lot of reflection and thinking about this. Yes, I'm American, but that doesn't mean I need to socialize as all Americans do. That doesn't mean that I need to like parties. That doesn't mean that I like to be around big groups of people all the time. I don't need to be this type of person. Yes, I speak English. Yes, I have friends who speak English. Yes, I use English for work. But I'm not used to hearing English. I felt like overstimulated. Hearing all these conversations at the same time that I can understand completely. And I hadn't felt this way for years. In Japan, I'm not fluent in Japanese. So that means when I'm speaking in Japanese, it's very focus-based. If I'm speaking to someone in Japanese, of course, then my mind's active using Japanese and I'm like actively listening to understand them. But when I hear people just like speaking in Japanese in conversation, it gets shut out. It's like background noise to me. When you hear your native language, you cannot shut it out. You understand it without any processing, without any effort. So going back to America and just hearing English.
Oh, there's so many things going on. Oh my gosh, someone's gossiping about someone. What's going on in her life?
It's just English.
It's just English everywhere.
Living in Japan, there are a lot of conveniences, but of course I'm not fluent in Japanese, so there is always an extra layer of inconvenience. Having like that worry gone was a bit of a relief. But to be honest, when I was there, things almost felt a little too easy in a way, and I really appreciated the fact that like my life in Japan is always helping me to grow as a person. I think learning a language is like so valuable. So I think that living somewhere and like actively studying and learning another language is such a valuable experience for my life. I felt really grateful that like I do have that challenge. I felt ready to return to that challenge in Japan after my 6 weeks. Thank you so much for watching. If you got to the end of this video, I hope that you learned something new about American culture, and I hope that you can understand reverse culture shock a bit better. If you're not subscribed to my channel, please subscribe. I really appreciate it. It helps me grow this channel, and I'm grateful for every single one of you watching. Also, if you haven't checked out my other social media accounts, they are linked below. I am on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter, so you can find the links below. Please follow me there. And with that, I'll say, ありがとうございました。またね。